It's been a wonderful forum, and it's great to see all the great solutions that's there. It was wonderful to hear all of you talk about the different things that are being done. Just to sort of reflect on some of the comments that I heard and I picked up, I mean, certainly Harry teed this up really well for us. What is the challenge of mobility? What's the challenge, the energy transition, and we need to think about it. And mobility, of course, plays a tremendously large role in that. We know it's about 20 to 25%, depending on which country and how you count it, of the solution energy basket that's associated. It's there. And of course, right after power, it's probably the one that has the most potential to start to think about decarbonization solutions. We have a lot of longer tail of things that we're going to struggle with. And I think Harry teed up the challenge very well. And of course, what he said, and that always strikes me very much, is when we say powering progress together, we're Shell, and sometimes we take a tremendous amount of time with this one. So those 3 words, by the way, took us several months. Now, you can criticize our command of the English language, but the reason it took us that long, because they mean so much to us. And so when we say together, this is how together comes for all of us. And this is why we have forums like this. This is how we need to work together. And frankly, we all need to figure out how to collaborate well together. And I think that was very clear, that came out of the message that was there. And I can just reflect on my own sort of journey. I started out as a very, very young engineer in Silicon Valley in the late 90s. And yes, I saw the entire bubble boom and burst. And yes, I was not smart enough to get out at the right time. So I wish all the entrepreneurs a lot better luck and better insight than I ever had. But I was there, and I remember this wonderful conversation with my boss and the CEO, and the CEOs came in and said, right, we need to figure this out, and we need this solution designed. And my boss says, yes, okay, we'll think about it. We'll have to work this and all this way. And then he says, right, the CEO says, right, so when can I expect this? And I said, well, and my boss had this best line. He said, I can't quite schedule innovation. By the way, I need to fail about 10 or 15 times, if not more, before I can come back and give you an answer. So if I give you a date, it's frankly pretty worthless at this point in time. And I'm just sort of pulling it out of nowhere. And I think it was one of the best sort of comments ever made because frankly, we don't know. Right? None of us can ever come back and say, I will deliver innovation. I'm going to get my brave wave, my eureka moment. We can lie in as many bathtubs as we want if you want your Greek references. But and you still may not get your eureka moment. You may be just really wet. It's about all the only thing that'll happen. People laugh at me actually more than they laugh with me, but yeah, so I think it was absolutely wonderful comments, and I think it's absolutely resonates with me that this is part of the challenge that's there about what is the pace of innovation. The only sort of thing I would come back and add to all of this is innovation. Yeah, we don't know, we can't schedule it, we don't know how it's going to come from, we're not even sure when it's going to pop up, and yes, we have to come back and fail and mistakes. But I'm going to go back to the first point I made that said that we can accelerate that journey. We can accelerate that cycle if we work together. Because more than likely, somebody has already been trying and experimenting with the same type of solutions, with the same type of issues, and they may have been doing it all over time. Again, when I was there in the Valley, I can tell you that I saw pads in the late 90s that are way better than the first iPads when they were launched. But they were wonderful hardware, terrible software, no idea about the customer, complete failed innovations. And they failed, and they failed. And I'm giving my age away, but we had the Palms, and you had to learn a whole new writing script of the Palm pilots, and then the Blackberries, they're all gone. But these are the failures. These are the steps that actually come back and create the products that are actually going to define for us in the future. And the thing was that unless we actually, and by the way, Apple bought some of those people out, or actually hired some of those people. But the reality was, unless we can start to share a lot more, you don't have the time to wait the next 15, 20, 30 years for the next innovation to come. Energy, unfortunately, design and technology cycle is 30 years, right? I frankly don't have that much time and the planet certainly doesn't have that much time to wait. There's sectors that frankly we just don't know how to solve. at this point in time. And there's use cases and applications we don't know how to solve. You know, the industry bodies, the government policies, the enabling network. But for me, I think the biggest thing about policies and all is that I think, you know, we have to frame them in the right way. You know, I'm overburdened with policies, especially in India. I think we may need a few less policies than we need a few more policies. It'd be really helpful if we actually implement some of the policies we had. What we need is structure and facilitation and guidance and incentives and the right kind of incentives. Subsidies don't work, you know. So those are the kind of things that I think are more important. And I'm going to just leave you a little bit of a sense of what the world can look like, right? And what the world can look like in the decades to come in here in India is I don't expect there to be a silver bullet. You know, I don't expect there that you can walk up and say that battery swapping or electromobility or this is going to be the answer. I think the reality is we're going to look at a world where I can buy a hydrogen vehicle, I can buy ICE vehicles, I can buy electric vehicles, I can do electric charging, I can do battery swapping, I can do methanol blends, I can do biofuel blends, ethanol. I can do a whole range of different solutions. I can think about mass solutions. I can think about large-scale mobility solutions. I can think about large-scale people solutions. I can think about software, hardware, services. And we're going to do all of it at the same time. And that's really what the next decades for us is going to look like. And it's going to be chaotic. And it's going to be challenging. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. But what is going to help us through all of this and what's going to enable all this to happen is that ultimately this is going to be about consumers and digitizing the choices that the consumers can come back and make and being able to then digitize the flexibility of the offer that we can create for them. And that really is where I think technology is going to come in and play a role in the future. I am tremendously committed to make a difference in our journeys going forward, not just for Shell, but for India. It's incredibly important to me. It's my roots. It's what my parents taught me. It's the values that I have. It's what I would like to come back and achieve. I think all of you are here because you want to do the same thing. And this is somewhere in your purpose also along the way. We need all of you and more. We need every single one of you to recognize that you do have a role to play. We want to live our purposes. We want to make change happen. And we recognize that the way we do it is by becoming better versions of ourselves and collaborating with each other. That's the journey I'm on from my own learning and development, and I welcome you to join me with it. Let's make the future.